Dan Levy dipping his toes into the director's pool as his feature film debut is now up on Netflix. Let's talk about Good Grief. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new film Good Grief. This is streaming now on Netflix. And Dan Levy of Schitt's Creek fame, and of course he's done many things since then, not only directed this as his feature debut, but he wrote it and he stars in it. So he's got his fingerprints all over this thing. Let's see how that works out as we continue with the review here. But first, let me welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. We do movie and TV reviews here on the channel just about every day. Something new goes up. So there's always a lot to check out. I've got playlists on the homepage if you're interested in my movie reviews, my TV reviews, some of my more specialty things. And there is a year-to-year playlist as well. So 2023 and now 2024. And this movie, although it premiered in like a couple of theaters on December 29th, 2023. I am considering this a 2024 release because that's when it dropped on Netflix that first week of 2024. And I looked at Box Office Mojo, I looked at the numbers.com, and none of them had any box office numbers even for this movie. So I think it probably played in like 2 theaters just to maybe get Oscar contention or something. But for all intents and purposes, this to me is a 2024 film. So that is the playlist where you'll find it. And as a result, you know, it's one of the first movies of 2024 I have seen. So let's talk about this movie specifically. So this follows Dan Levy's character, who is called Mark, and he is grieving the loss of his husband, played in the first scene by Luke Evans. He passes away in a car accident, you know, moments after this great party at Christmas time. And so months later, he's still in mourning, and his friends, played by Ruth Negga as Sophie and Hamish Patel as Thomas, join him on a trip to Paris to hopefully find some acceptance of the loss and other things that follow. So this is kind of a rom-com as well, because he's also looking for love to sort of get over, you know, quote unquote. I know we never get over the, you know, the loss of a husband, but he also finds some things out in the meantime that maybe, you know, dims his love a little bit. And his grief for the husband. So that's basically where we are with the story. Look, Dan Levy, I have really enjoyed a lot of his work. Schitt's Creek, of course, is, you know, legend, and he co-created that show. So he's got his fingerprints on that as well. But he had, you know, a nice Saturday Night Live hosting gig, and he did this brunch reality food competition that I really enjoyed. But this movie is kind of a mess, and it's a shame to say. And Ruth Negga as well. I love her. She's been in a few really high-profile movies. I believe she was Oscar nominated a few years ago for her role in Loving, if I'm remembering that correctly. But you know, she's been in a couple of great movies since, and she should be in many more things. But this was not a great showcase for her acting chops either. And I don't know if I blame it on necessarily the direction of Levy. I think the directing is okay, but I think it's the writing. These characters are not really very likable, none of them, and as a result, we don't really care much about the plight. Now, I will admit, when you know, Mark starts to uncover things about his you know, former husband, okay, there's, you know, some emotions there, and you can kind of go along for that journey, but there's all this like infighting with him and the friends, and it all sort of boils down, I hate to say it, to, you know, rich people problems. Like, oh, you know, I'm grieving the loss of, you know, my mate, my husband, in this particular case, and oh God, you know, what do I do? Oh, I know, let's all up and go to Paris and, you know, grieve there in this beautiful, you know, palatial estate. And it's just like, oh, come on. You know, if you want to be relatable, and look, I'm all for, you know, watching movies where well-off people do things. Crazy Rich Asians was, a lot of fun. And there's, even in the rom-com genre, in the drama genre, which, this is sort of trying to merge the two. But it's also not very funny, but that's another story. But it just, watching this, it's like, oh man, these are really, really, well-to-do people and their friends just having a laugh in Paris while they're trying to grieve and sort of sort out their own lives and their own misery and whatever. Look, I've graded things with rich people problems very, very highly, but they have to be well written, and I have to care about the characters. And I'm just not positive that I did here. I will say, again, Mark's sort of journey, Dan Levy wrote himself as Mark, a pretty good journey for that specific character. I don't necessarily dislike him. I think he's okay, but when you have this sort of answer of let's go to Paris and cry in our caviar or whatever, it's like it dulls a little bit to the general population, I think. And so I certainly felt that. These characters are just not well constructed, unfortunately. The acting's fine. Dan Levy is a good performer, and he's fine here. Ruth Negga is fine here. Patel's okay. But his character is, I would say, probably the least fleshed out, so I cared about him the least. And the directing's fine. I think I would like to see what Levy can do in the future, maybe with someone else's script, because I think his script needed a little bit of work. And yeah, to get back to the brief statement I made earlier, it's not that funny. It's supposed to be a dramedy or even at some points a rom-com. I didn't really get that out of this. I didn't find the humor. And look, there's plenty of ways to find humor in grief. We've seen that in many movies and TV shows. But this ain't it. So, unfortunately, Good Grief left me with a bit of a poor taste in my mouth. I leave it with a C-. If you are interested, you can stream it now on Netflix. 2024, not starting out that great. This is my third review, and already nothing's gotten higher than a C+. Hopefully, we'll get some better things as the year continues. But for now, that will do it. Thank you for watching Dan Reviews It. We'll see you next time.